This is Leah here. It's almost been a year since that fateful day. I remember it very well because I actually had an audition the day before we got the news that we would not be available or it wouldn't be possible for us to gather in the ways that we were familiar with for a while. You know, the kids thought, oh, it'll be a couple of weeks of free school. And I thought, well, I have a few performances and teaching opportunities that will go by the wayside, but we'll be all right. We'll be up and running again in a couple of weeks. So we thought. When it became clear that things were going to be very different, the experience was going to be very different than any of us have ever experienced before, it was a very challenging moment. It was one of the deepest, most immediate experiences of grief that I have ever had, because from one moment to the next, the way I saw myself, the way I earned and contributed to my family's well-being, the way that I express, the way that I give and share in the world, or certainly one of the major ways that I do those things, was taken away. It was canceled. It was like I had been canceled. That was how it felt. And I am known in my family and among those who are close to me as being a huge optimist. Literally, my blood type is B positive. And usually I have a habit of experiencing anything with the silver lining already intact. But in that moment, I just went into actually my son's room because it was the most secluded space in the house where we were at the time. It was a place where I could experience the deepest dark. And I turned off the light and I laid down on the floor and I wept. I curled up in a fetal ball and wept. Like I was in grieving, and I just decided or was encouraged from within not to fight that, not to just jump to, okay, everything's gonna be fine, it's gonna be great, silver lining, but rather to get familiar with, to allow my pain, to truly embrace the fact that I was in an unknown experience, that what I had expected and hoped for was no longer available to me, and just to feel that death-like anguish. And after I had spent some time in it, really marinated in my tears a little bit, I remembered an interpretation that I heard from Pastor James Miller, who said, we know in the 23rd Psalm, they say, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And Reverend James says, yes, we will walk through valleys in the shadow of death, but we need not pitch a tent. And I remembered that admonition. And when my grief felt complete, I was in a place, I kind of felt hollowed out. But I've recognized that darkness that I had put myself into and that empty feeling that I had did not have to be the end of the story. In fact, it wouldn't be the end of the story. I'd have another day to wake up into and another day after that. And I didn't know what that day was going to look like. My calendar was a blank. But nature abhors a vacuum, and an artist never starves, right? So, what I recognized was that this hollow and this darkness was an opportunity for me to look at myself and understand myself better, to reckon with the ways I had let earning and performing and productivity become my definitions of worth. And to recognize that what I wanted, the reason my grief was so deep, was because I wanted to be able to share. I wanted to be able to make music. I wanted to be able to connect with people. And when I really unpacked what my soul was crying out for, I began to think that maybe what I really wanted was available, but not in ways that I had anticipated, that it was time for me to get open. It was time for me to let the moment unfold and bring me a gift that I didn't expect. It was time for me to be the gift that I didn't expect. So I woke up the following morning and I decided I would just do what I could do. I would live into what was available. And I had a habit, still do, as you see, I have a habit of taking a walk in the morning. And on that walk, I said, all right, I'm no longer in the deepest pit of grief. I'm wide open. I'm hollowed out. What's next? What now? And the answer came in the form of a song. Keep your heart wide open, though the waves want to push you around. You've got to keep your heart wide open until your faith brings you back to solid ground. And I could tell you at the time, I didn't even really know what that meant. I did not really know, what does it mean to keep your heart open? How am I to do that? What does that mean? Well, the answer came that, you know what? Maybe there's something in this message that would be a gift to someone else. So I'm going to find a way. I'm not going to be able to sing it in church on Sunday because church on Sunday is not happening. And I'm not going to be able to teach it to the preschoolers. But there are ways. We are so fortunate to live in a time when there are ways for us to connect. And I began to see the potential and the promise and the possibility. Even though I didn't know the way forward, and in a sense, I was still in what we would call darkness in our culture. What certainly a time of unsurety, of uncertainty. But I knew I wanted to share. So I began to research and look into ways I could create a video of the song that had come to me and share it. And I realized in doing so, in the process of getting familiar with that tech and attending what I like to call the University of YouTube, that I was answering the prayer that had come up in that deep, deep grief, that desire to connect, that desire to share. And that many of the questions I had might remain unanswered, but that the deepest need and desire that I felt in the core of myself was being answered, was being met. It was a matter of stepping into and out on faith and recognizing that even the deepest, darkest pits of our despair have the potential to be wombs. They have the potential to be fertilizer, to give us information about ourselves and who we are and what we want and what we intend to create in the world. I heard somebody say that the word react and the word create have the same letters but very different impacts. And so my initial reaction to that loss and grief and change was, to shut down for a time and experience the full depth of my sorrow. But when I remembered that I'm made in the likeness and image of the divine, I remembered that that's a call for me to create, to listen to who I am and get up and create what is mine to create in the world. I'm going to sing a song that was born uh, in the summer of last year when a lot of things were particularly challenging. And I realized that I needed to stop trying to figure things out and just open my heart even wider and love even more and let that be the solution to every situation. Love, would you guide my feet? Love, would you light my path? Love, lead the way. Love, will you fill my needs? Love, will you do the math? Love, lead the way. Lead the way. Lead the way. And I will walk with trust today. And all I do, and all I say, I will follow. Love, lead the way. When I don't know what I'm doing, when nothing feels okay, love, lead the way. Everything feels broken and I'm holding fear at bay. Love, lead the way. Lead the way. Lead the way. And I will walk with trust today. And all I do, and all I say, I will follow.